great to be here. I'm very honored to be here, and I just want to thank Jane Harman for that tremendous introduction. We feel so lucky at Newsweek to have been blessed with the Harman family. Of course, we miss our dear Sidney more than we can say. He was a unique man with an extraordinary, encouraging, warm, and brilliant spirit, which we miss every day. But we are very lucky that we have Jane in our midst, and thank her so much for her support, and which she wanted to vouchsafe the moment we lost Sydney. She was there to say, we're here, we're with you, we support you, and we are joined with Barry Diller in making Newsweek and the Daily Beast a stable and successful company. So I really do thank you for that, Jane, so much. Thank you. Hi, Keith.
Hello, Gina. Great to be here, thanks. I guess some of the questions have sort of been answered. I was looking back over the past 10 or 12 years when wealthy benefactors have come in and bought a magazine and what's happened when they suddenly passed away. I thought of John Kennedy, Caroline Kennedy, inherited George. Hachette bought it back. A year later, it was out of business. Sidney Frank, the Grey Goose, Jägermeister, Liquor Baron, had a couple of travel magazines. The family said, oh, we're going to keep it going. A month later, magazines closed, everybody's laid off. Bruce Wasserstein's family trust has kept New York Magazine going, and it sounds like Newsweek with Jane Harman and the Harman family behind it seems to be going in the same way, so that's a good sign. But I guess the question is, can Newsweeklies as an entity survive? How do you feel about their future? We've been hearing about it since I started reporting on the business in the late 80s. It's probably more tenuous than ever. They're coupled with a great website, but what's the future for them?
Well, I think that no publication today can exist without reinventing itself, wherever it lies, on the newsstand. And everyone in the media business has been involved in a reinvention of some kind. Massive shakeouts, massive realignments, whether it's television, websites, print, everyone has been involved in that. So in that sense, I don't think that news magazines are different in a sense from other news entities that we've seen massively reinventing themselves recently. Newsweek, I think, has a terrific role to play, simply because we are so inundated with information that to have a role for a magazine which will actually stand back and digest and bring perspective and reconstruct and predict and all the things in a sense that aren't the purview of the web is a very strong role for a magazine. It's just a question of how you can balance that, if you like, and synergize that with the fast-track, fast-moving heat of a website. I think they have to be a fantastic marriage, because on the Daily Beast you have the sort of fast-breaking, instant response, the quick, instant sort of intensity, if you like, of media response. And then the magazine, almost as a kind of counterpart, almost like playing in a different key, can say, well, that's so classic for the website, but this is what we can now do about this in the magazine. And we're already, as merged staff, talking about this on an hourly, daily basis, what belongs online and what belongs in the magazine. And of course, the great strength, in a sense, of this merged operation is that we are, all of us, working on both. And in a sense, the kind of digital energy is a terrific excitement for the magazine too, so that kind of the bubbling up that happens from the web can then be thought about and interpreted for the magazine. And I think it's a better way to do it than having the old media, as it were, saying, how can we start a website? It's better for the new media, for the website, to have already developed its own very, very specific identity, and then, in a sense, address the problem of the magazine.
Sounds like a great plan, but I know there have been tens of millions of losses in the past year. I guess in Daily Beast you could say it's more an investment because the news starting up. Newsweek clearly lost in the last 2 years 40 million. Even with great owners, Barry Diller said he would know in 6 to 8 months whether it was a good idea. what stage of the game do you think you'll be able to post a profit again?
For a start, let's just first of all speak about the Daily Beast. The Daily Beast was never expected to be in profit after 2 years. It was a 5-year business plan, on which we are very, very handsomely along the way. So had Newsweek not come along, we were on our way to doing very well with the Daily Beast and making a profit in the appointed time, which would be its 3rd year, or perhaps at the very least, but certainly soon. Newsweek, of course, had undergone a tremendously difficult transition year. I mean, it lost a huge amount of advertising in the sale. Ultimately, advertisers like to take a wait-and-see position when they hear that a publication is for sale, and so they stand back and they don't want to come in until that deal is done and until they see what happens next. But what we have found, and what I know Sidney Harmer believed very strongly, and certainly Barry Dillon does, is that Newsweek is also a golden brand. It is an iconic global brand. There are not that many brands, news brands really, which you can think of, which actually do have that kind of global reach. You have Time, you have CNN, you have BBC, you have Times. I mean, these are the brands that are recognized throughout the world. But Newsweek is right up there with them. I'm always astonished when I travel just how much traction the news brand of Newsweek really has. That is very golden, particularly at a time of global media, to have a title of that kind. So we have absolute confidence that given that, and given this new world that we're in, and given the energy of the Daily Beast digital brand, which is now joining forces with it, we can reactivate Newsweek, and we're proving that we can. I mean, we have actually got 40 new ad campaigns in 40 days this year. We've only actually been in since March, because the deal closed in January, February, and then we had to get in there, and then they had to go out and start to position the magazine and so on. And you see already that it's coming back. It isn't easy. No one is saying that any turnaround is easy. And this merger between the Daily Beast and Newsweek really is more akin to a startup than it is a merger, really, because you're talking about a new company that's formed with a new idea. It's really an experiment. But it's an experiment that seems to have already gained a lot of traction. And I have absolutely no doubt that in the next 2 to 3 years, you're going to see a very prosperous company.
Okay, so 2 to 3 years, you'd say? It's a good time frame. This is a pop culture question. You crashed 2 special issues on the royal wedding and Osama bin Laden. Any idea who's selling more, the good guys or the bad guys?
Any idea who's going to die next? We're waiting eagerly to hear that, actually. We actually crashed 3 issues. We had the regular Newsweek. We had a special, commemorative issue of the royal wedding, which is going to be on sale for 3 months, actually. And we have the Osama issue, which we crashed in a day and a half and brought out Friday instead of in the usual Monday, which is we don't yet know. I think that Osama's going to do very, very well.
Time magazine said Osama was outselling the royal wedding about 2 to 1. But in the pop culture world, People's royal wedding was outselling OK's Bin Laden cover.
I know that our special royal wedding issue is doing extraordinarily well, but it's not going to be. You won't be able to get the collective data on that for another month or 2.
Okay. During the sale process of Newsweek, one of the underplayed potential bidders was the person that was licensed to the Pakistan edition of Newsweek. And I was just wondering, what happened to that Pakistan edition, and what was their take on the raid?
It's currently holed up in a house in a well, the Pakistan edition is going strong. And actually, what is exciting about Newsweek is that there are these other global editions with whom we can forge these relationships. And actually, it was because of our relationship with Pakistan Newsweek that we were able to get this week a really interesting piece by A.Q. Khan, the father of the whole nuclear program in Pakistan, who never has given any media really to the Western media. And he wrote a piece for Newsweek, which is a real scoop for us to have. I mean, he said he said that nukes were a great idea for Pakistan, and really what they wanted to do was take out India, not anybody else. It was a terrific piece for us to have. So that actually came out of the relationship with Pakistan Newsweek.
And he claimed it was an invasion of Pakistan's sovereignty too.
Yes.
Yeah. Getting back to the whole dynamic of the business side of the Daily Beast and Newsweek, another CEO of a fairly decent-sized web company said that in the past 3 years, CPMs, cost per thousand, have dropped about 50% for ads. So basically, he has to sell twice as many ads to get the same revenue. Banner ads don't seem to really work. They don't really drive people to make buying decisions, which ultimately is what advertisers are trying to do. How are you going to make not just Daily Beast, but any of the web sites profitable, and what can you do to entice advertisers that you're one of the premium brands that, and what different things can they do other than banner ads, which are faded?
I have to say that in this instance, Barrington was very, very prescient, because his whole concept for the Daily Beast when we launched it was that we wouldn't actually take ads for the first year until we had built the traffic, because he felt that we should never take banner ads, because he thought you're never going to make a profit with banner ads, so you shouldn't do it. Instead, we have gone for these custom units, these very, very great looking, personally designed for the customer, custom units on the website that are very, very attractive visually. And they have attracted the kind of advertiser who's willing to pay much more than they would in the old banner advertising way. And that's been very successful for us. And that's really what we had to wait to get. And we had to endure a kind of a year of everybody sniping about, people like Keith Kelly writing his stuff in the New York Post about how we didn't have any ads yet, when the ads came. But actually this was the whole concept of the website in the first year was not to take the banner ads. And now, of course, the advertising is very much coming. In fact, we had 75 ad campaigns last year, new ones.
Now, how hard is it, though, to convince advertisers that you're one of the premium websites? What kind of unique visitors, volume do you need per month, or are you going for quality, not quantity? Two
things really convince advertisers. Firstly, that the whole concept of the Daily Beast has always been about quality. We are a site that is visually very attractive. We spend a lot of time and a lot of care in making a site that's pretty great looking, almost like taking the, if you like, the visual, the aesthetic of a glossy magazine and putting it online. I mean, the Beast has won many nominations for its design, and I think it is a very good looking site. So glossy advertisers, high class advertisers like being visually in that mix, because a lot of websites don't look attractive enough to attract luxury brands, but they do feel that the Daily Beast looks attractive, so they want to be there. And secondly, we have a great emphasis on quality in all of our writing and our columnists and the kind of content that we're carrying. We have writers from Salman Rushdie to Tony Blair to Susan Shiva. These are the kind of writers that are writing every day on the Daily Beast, and they do spell quality. And I think that after a time, advertisers understand that and they resonate with that. And we have an audience that is upscale and that is affluent, and it's coming through. It's all about just consistency, about proving again and again that that's who you are. We've held the line very firmly on that. We haven't had anyone who post anything on the Daily Beast. We have our gatekeepers. We have superb editors. Many of them here tonight. Edward Felsenthal from the Journal. Before he came here, Jane Spencer, who was also at the Wall Street Journal before she came here. Brian Curtis, who was at Texas Monthly. These are the editors who have been. Randall Lane, who was formerly at Forbes, who's also here tonight. These editors have a very, very strong, rigorous editing standards. They keep out the bad stuff.
You think there's going to be a shakeout in the web world? Right now, there's no real barrier to entry. Anybody in their pajamas can open up a website and say they're in business. Some of them are quality, some of them are not. Is there a shakeout ahead in that all?
It's interesting, actually. I think that we went through a whole period of 10 years where the excitement was all about sort of crowdsourcing, if you like. And I think there is now something more of a desire to have material shaped. Obviously, social media is an immensely powerful tool. We've grown tremendously on Facebook and on Twitter. But at the same time, I think there is more and more of a desire, actually, ironically, to also have people telling you what's good. And in a way, that's the old-fashioned mechanism of editing, right? Which is about having sensibilities that you trust tell you what's good. And that's what we try to do at the Daily Beast. We say, read this, skip that. We don't actually want to put 25 stories up about what happened in Pakistan, all with the same kind of theme. We want to put the one or two good things up that we think have the best information. And I think people are grateful for that, because people are just desperate really right now for anything that cuts out the dross from their lives, you know, because people are just so overwhelmed with material and they have no time.
One ad executive has said to me, he says, you know, one of the problems with people in the print world is you think when you get 1 million unique visitors that you reach some kind of threshold like you did when you got to 1 million circulation. He says, we don't even really look at things seriously until they're at 10 million. And I bounced off another media executive and he said, it's probably getting closer to 20 million. Do you subscribe to that, or do you think you can go with?
Well, there are two things. We're actually at 6 million now, and when you combine the traffic, we're going to get 9. The other metric that you have to look at, though, is reader loyalty and how much they come back. For instance, at the Daily Beast, we have 50% of our readers coming back at least once in a day, and very often they look at 10 pages in the course of that visit. And that is, it's a very important thing to know that you're getting loyalty from readers who are coming back. I think we all strive for that in print as much as we do online. So it isn't just about mass, actually. It's also about reader loyalty and how much time they spend. So, I mean, I think advertisers particularly really resonate with that. And they prefer that to having just volume, which doesn't stick.
Changing topics a bit. A lot's been written about yourself and Arianna Huffington, just sold her site to AOL for $315 million. Yourself and Arianna, friends, enemies, frenemies?
She can certainly buy me lunch next time.
Yes.
Great friends. I mean, really great friends. You know, she's. We talk a couple of times a week. And, I've known Arianna for over 30 years, and our kids like each other hugely, and we're just great. We are very good friends. I mean, you can have a very close friend who's doing something where on occasion, you might compete for the same something or other, or you might. But basically, that's not really a part of our relationship at all. I mean, if you're friends with somebody long enough, these things transcend what you happen to be doing in London. I mean, I've known Arianna through her time at Cambridge, through her time as a writer, through her time living in New York, through her time living in LA. I knew her mother. I've seen her children grow up. She sent me a bassinet when Isabel was born. I mean, it goes beyond HuffPo and the Daily Beast, so we're very, very good friends.
What though is the ultimate end game for Newsweek Daily Beast? Would it be a sale similar to what AOL did? Is that a 5-year plan? Is there an exit plan, or is this?
How about tomorrow? Just joking. No, I like the striving, I think that we all are just completely focused on building a great media company. And there's a lot of passion in this company. There's a lot of passion. One of the editors said to me yesterday, there's so much passion in here. He said, it's true. People care enormously, and they care about sentences and pictures and words and what's happening on each of these things. And there's a great desire to see this thing flourish. I think there's quite a lot of sort of messianic zeal to sort of save this great brand, Newsweek, and keep it really for writers and photographers, and as Jane said, I mean, rightly so without sounding pompous, for democracy. I mean, people do need smart stuff to read, and we want to be able to have a few things out there which allow people to express, some intelligent thoughts. And so Newsweek is a very important thing, and we believe strongly that the Daily Beast is also a new, energizing media property. And to put these two together, we feel is very, very exciting. So in answer to your question, we would like to build a great media company. Who knows what will happen to it? I personally just feel it would be a thrill to have this thing really work, and to be able to have writers and editors and all of the people who are in this room, the people here, able to feel that there's another outlet out there which is secure, which has jobs for journalists and a future. So that's really the goal right now, is to simply make this thing solid.
You still hiring? What do you, I would like to know.
This
topics into the coverage area. The royal wedding, how long were you over there for?
I was there for
Like
4
ABC?
days. I was there for ABC for 3 or 4 days.
Yes. Any takes on what the royal couple seemed to be lukewarm reaction when they got engaged, and then very popular when they got married? What's the next big story out of them? Is it pregnancy, breakup? Will the royal sister-in-law become
You
Pippa?
are a ghoul. No, the next story is Harry and Pippa. I mean, that's a big focus. I mean, the next focus is Harry, actually, who is, there are boatloads of American girls right now. We actually ran a piece on the Harry hunters who are just arriving in London, hoping upon a host to hang out with Prince Harry. And Pippa is obviously pretty hot stuff. I mean, I think the best thing that happened is to team up. That would be insane. So great.
How much interaction could you get with her? How much of a mob scene was it?
Well, actually, it was a very well-behaved mob scene. I mean, the whole thing was so well-behaved. I've never seen a sort of British crowd just so kind of docile and sort of grateful, it seemed. I mean, I think it was had a pretty rough time recently, with austerity and cuts and feeling kind of downtrodden and all the rest of it. But I think this really was like a ray of sunshine coming out. In fact, there was a great moment in the park, in Regent's Park, when all this crowd were there waiting, and then the moment when Prince William looked her in the eyes and put the ring on her finger, the sun came out. There was a kind of roar, excitement. I was told by someone who was there, just saying it was a kind of lovely, magical, fairy story moment. So it did really have that feeling, and it was a great relief, I think, to people who feel a bit beaten down.
Switching to back to the Pakistan raid and Obama, what does this do? Will Obama get reelected, do you think, in your opinion, on the strength of this, or will he still collapse if the economy, unemployment rate is still 9%, gasoline is still $4 a gallon?
Well, I think the glow, the whole halo of this is not going to last for very long. I mean, it will last a bit. It's definitely strengthened his sort of image of leaderly virility, if you like. But no, I think in the end it's all about the economy. And unless that improves, he is very vulnerable.
And who would be the Republican?
Exactly right.
Yes.
It's a cast of pygmies and
Now that Trump is out, of course.
yes, now that Donald Trump is dropped. I mean, they're dropping like flies anyway. Who's going to be left?
Any prediction now as to who's going to win?
Who's going to win? Right now, I would say Obama. That's what I think, but I mean, who knows? It's such a volatile climate, and I just think American politics is so wildly exciting compared to British politics, which was so incredibly dreary and damp. Hopefully there'll be some crazy wild card bursting out of the gate.
Well, one more
getting
question
the
for
wrap
the
it up
evening.
sign. So I just want to say thank you, Tina. Very much enjoyed it. I think it was a
Thank you
good
very
night.
much.
Thank you.